Corey, you ready over there? Okay. I'd like to call the regular monthly meeting of October 19, 2017 to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Franco. Mr. Klein.
Here.
Ms. Quackenbush.
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Here.
Mrs. Piella.
Here.
Mr. Spindell. Mr. Barbarulo.
Present.
Mrs. Wallace.
Present.
Mr. Banta.
Here. You join me in the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chills. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of, to attend the meetings of, public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posting the Board of Education Administrative Office sent to the Bergen Record and Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting along with the date, time, and place thereof was distributed on October 25th, 2017. Items to be discussed during closed work session of the regular monthly meeting may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations and/or grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized in protecting safety and public property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. This time I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Palestis, and we have a couple of presentations.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. Tonight we have an important presentation, and I want to introduce it by telling you that one of our responsibilities as a Board of Education is to make sure that those students who receive an education in the community of Fair Lawn actually live in the community of Fair Lawn. And the way we do that is through a process that Mike Shansky will be describing to us. You'll see that it's a very, very thorough process. It's a process that works. It's something fairly new, combined with some of the old measures that we had. But it is important that the kids who go to our schools are really our kids. And so Mike is going to explain how we go through that, how we get started. So, all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Lesson. Good evening, I'm Mike Shansky. I'm the director of the community school. Like we said, I'm going to be talking about the three main parts of the registration process. First, we have when someone comes to enroll in the schools as a new student to the district. And the second thing, I'll talk about how investigation procedures work if there's someone that's suspected not to be living in Fair Lawn. They're no longer residents, or they never were, what the process involves there. And then we also, last year, we utilized a company called VerifyResidence.com, where they came into, we gave them a list of our database, and through the process, they searched out and gave us some possible fraudulent people that were not residing in Fair Lawn. And I'll go through some statistics of what the results were of that. Okay, the first step in registration, if you have a child in the school system, you probably have gone through this somewhat. You need to pre-register online. This is a fairly new process. We use our Genesis system, and parents and guardians can go online and sign up their child. They put in their guardian information, their address, birth date, previous schools, emergency contacts, as much information as possible into the system. So when they come into the office, the procedure is a lot quicker. The second step is they make an appointment with the community school. They come in, they'll set up Monday, usually Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays. We do make exceptions if there's a situation where someone can't come in during those days, during various hours. They'll come in and they'll bring the necessary proofs to show that they're actually residing in town. All the requirements are listed on the pre-registration when they complete it. It gives them a link where they're supposed to go. We have all the information always on the website, but we also have it in person if someone comes in. Sometimes some of the files that they need for different circumstances may not be, it's not a cookie cutter situation. So they'll come in and we'll have to give them different forms that they need to get notarized and affidavits. Once they verify residence with us, or at least started the process, I'll sign off on it as either being complete or incomplete. If it's incomplete, they then have 30 days to provide us with the necessary documents required that they were missing. If not, we can start the disenrollment process. Once that process is over, they go to the school, the assigned school, and then they can start the enrollment process with the school by setting up a schedule, looking at if there's a transfer from a different school district. They'll look at the transcripts and set up the schedule for the student. The residency verification types. If for some reason it starts affecting residency issues, we have 3 different ways we look at it. One is through, I mentioned before, the verifyresidence.com. What we did in the spring was a full residency verification where we gave them a list of the over 5,000 plus students, and they narrowed it down through their data analysis and going through the owner of the company. We came down to 168 possible students that were not residing in the district. And I'll explain that process a little bit further. The process was very successful, and what we're looking to do is utilize them again this coming school year, and we're going to look to do a grade level verification for grades 2 and 8, in similar methods. Second way is affidavit renewals and home sales. If you do not own a home, you have to have the landlord sign a rental affidavit that lets us know who's living in the house, when the lease started, when they started moving into the house, and also when the expiration expires. We enter the expiration date into the system, and then we generate reports and send notifications to people when it's time to renew their affidavits. There's other types of affidavits I'll touch base in a few minutes. Return mail, there's not so much mail that goes home anymore, but because when things do get sent out through the mail, or if we suspect, we'll send a letter. If we get a return mail, usually a lot of times it's through the guidance department, they'll send it over, forward it to us, and then we'll start looking at the investigation process. We also have phone call, people make anonymous tips, and we started an online form last year where people can actually go in and anonymously put a report in there if they suspect, if they see that their neighbor is getting dropped off, someone's getting dropped off at their neighbor's house all the time, they don't reside there, they suspect, it's your taxpayers' money that we're trying to protect, they can fill out the form anonymously and we'll look into it. And the last one is incomplete registrations. If after the 30 days, somebody doesn't complete all the forms, then we'll start the investigations, and I'll explain what the process is in a few. The residency verification, we ran them through, we gave it to the company. The company ran the 5,000 through 3 different databases and came back with a match, no match, or no record. No match meant that they have a different address that popped up in a different town. No record meant they're not attached to any address to parents or guardians. And match meant it's confirmed. Where they say they're living is actually true. What we did was, sorry about the noise, trying to keep everybody awake. The verification process, we reviewed and analyzed the return documents. We sent letters to the 168 people telling them what they need to provide for us to verify that they're actually still currently residing there. We analyzed them based on the information we found. We either followed it as completed, incomplete, needing more documentation, or further investigation, where we're going to analyze some more data and possibly send out the investigator. And that's what we did here, physical investigations. We have a district investigator that goes to, observe houses and so on, and knock on doors if necessary. And then if there's anybody that we find that does not reside in Fairlawn, we'll recommend them to the Board of Education, where there's a whole process that I'll explain in a little bit about the hearing and what to do in case they are disenrolled. The affidavit renewals, this one, there's 3 different types. We have a landlord affidavit, which is what I talked about. That's available on our website. The other 2 are not available on our website. They need to come in and kind of explain what the situation is, because everyone has different situations with living. Sometimes they're living with family or friends, they're not paying rent. So there's an affidavit that's filled out by the person who owns a house or rents, and they're also filled out by the person saying they're living there possibly rent-free.
Mike, the landlord affidavit, does that go out to every child in this district that parents rent? Does every parent get that every year?
Well, it started when it expires. So some rentals are 2 years.
Well, I'm saying when you say, so if the rental agreement's only 1 year.
Right.
Those people, every year, everybody in the district gets them.
Right, we're sending them out to everybody of the year that the report generates, and we try to verify every year.
Okay.
The last one is non-parent support, same thing. It's an affidavit. We try to renew those once a year just to verify everybody's same current living situation. We all know things change over time. The affidavit renewals, what we'll do is we'll send an email reminder first to the email on file in Genesis. If we don't get a response, then we'll send out a letter, a mailed letter. If it doesn't come back or they don't respond again, then we look into possible further investigation and data analysis with other tools that we have access to. We also started this year looking into house sales. We go through every single house sold in Fairlawn. We cross-reference it with our Genesis database. And if a house is sold by a student who's currently enrolled in Fairlawn, we generally start off with a nice phone call. We understand that your house was sold. Are you still residing in Fairlawn? Are you still residing at the house? If so, you need to do a change of address immediately. If not, you need to enroll in the current town that you've moved to. If they don't respond that way, same thing, we'll look at more data, we'll send letters, and then we'll send the investigator if necessary. If we cannot prove where they're residing, we'll send it out to the board for disenrollment recommendation. Return mail and tips, like I said, we look at the information, we'll follow up. Usually we just call the parents. Sometimes we'll tell them we got return information. If it's somebody from a few years ago and they don't have an affidavit on file because they weren't being done then, we might ask them, okay, we don't have an affidavit for you on file, you're renting, can you please have the landlord provide one for us? If they do, no problem, we put it in the file, move on. If they don't, then same thing, we move on to our investigation process of analyzing data, sending the investigator if necessary. Incompletes, we have a tickler system where when someone registers with us, we put it into the file system, and then we give them 30 days. Upon 30 days, usually within a week before that, we start making phone calls, notifying them. You have incomplete documentation, you're required to bring it in, you have 1 week to do so. If they don't, then we get a little more serious. You give a few days, if it doesn't, you can be put up for disenrollment. And that's what somebody signs off every time they fill out an incomplete registration. They sign off that they have 30 days, otherwise they understand they can be disenrolled by the district. The anonymous tip form we started last year is accessible off of our website. This is also the link. Someone can just go in and that's a hard copy of what it looks like. If you have hard copies, you can either print as a PDF and email it to us, or you can just fill out as a Google form directly online. I get an update every time it makes a change, and then we'll look into it based on the information provided. The disenrollment process. After any of these times we decide that a student, or we suspect a student can't verify their residence, we'll send them a letter that involves the process that they have the right to appeal at a Board of Education hearing. Sometimes parents will just understand, they don't live in town anymore, they were relocated, they'll call us and say, we're changing our address, we're withdrawing from Fairlawn, and it's done. If they don't and they want to appeal to the Board of Ed, they can have a hearing set, they'll come plead their case, the Board of Ed makes a decision, whether they're going to be disenrolled or enrolled, and then we move from there. Pretty much what I just said. At the Board of Ed hearing, they're presented all the information, and the board will then decide whether they're going to disenroll, they'll let the child stay in district, and if they do decide to disenroll, they also can decide if they're going to be going after with the board attorney, if they'll be going to seek back tuition for the cost of the education of educating a student who doesn't reside in Fairlawn. If the Board of Ed votes to disenroll, then we send the information home to the parent or guardian, and it gives them the option to appeal if they choose to do so. To verify some statistics that we've proven over the last couple of years since we've started all these new trends, trying to verify. But like I said, the whole purpose of this is to protect the taxpayers and protect the students. The students who are living here are entitled to the best education possible. If you have children that are coming in, they're pretty much using resources that they should not be having access to. So with the Verify residents, we had 168 total verifications that were sent out. 123 of them completed them. And we did that with process that we made it as convenient as possible for everybody. They can either mail it in, they can drop it off in our mail slot, they can fax it, they can email, or they can just come in and make an appointment. Whatever is most convenient for them, we took with them. And if we need more information, we just called them politely. You're a few documents short, can you please provide this? And the people that completed it, very little hassle. Some are questioning it, others were very happy we were doing so. The no responses but verified, some people chose not to respond at all. We looked into some more information through our own measures and tactics. We were able to verify that 14 of them still resided even though they chose not to cooperate with our procedure. 12 of them were errors just inherent with the data that was processed through the company, and this was a learning curve for us as well. Next time we run something like this, I'm hoping the errors are much less because we have experience doing so. 7 withdrew from just since we sent the letter the first time to the current day. 2 graduated. 7 of them are still currently investigating because we haven't had enough information. And currently up for disenrollment by the Board of Ed, there's 3 students that are currently up right now because of the residency verification program. the verifyresidence.com, that are being up for disenrollment right now. The last statistics, since 2016, pretty much when I took over the system, we've looked into a lot of different students. The number 50 is very low compared to the ones we've looked into. But like I said, sometimes it's as simple as, we notice that someone's registering at your address, are you still residing there? Oh no, we sold our house, we moved across town. Great, come on in, do a change of address, that's done. That's not somebody we're gonna look into. They come in, they make an appointment, they verified where their new address is, not a problem. We didn't really look into those. The 50 we looked into had real suspicion based on our analysis, based on the information we had, sometimes a tip that we had. And 50 we've looked into, 35 we used our in-house investigator. He's contracted by the district. He goes out, like I said, does different observations and so on. Of the 50, 32 students have been withdrawn from the district in the last just about 2 years. And there's 10 cases that are currently open and under investigation. And those 32 students open up spaces for children, especially like we said, with the schools being tight, and the soft borders policy. Now students have opportunities to go into a classroom that they might not have had access to because someone was occupying it based on the fact that they were not here, they were fraudulent residencies. So that's pretty much how the registration process works. I've been in communication with other districts, how they do theirs. I've actually co-started a registrar network in the area of New Jersey. Last year we had 3 members, now we're up to about 30, 35. We meet a few times a year to share practices, find out what's working, and it's been very successful. We kind of steal ideas from each other, because everyone in New Jersey is having the same problem, overcrowding in the schools. We want to make sure that the students that are being educated are the ones in the district.
Mike,
Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
First of all, great presentation, very thorough, and I think our process is very thorough, which is important. Every year or so, all of a sudden, this issue comes up of students attending Fairlawn schools that shouldn't attend Fairlawn school. And people are saying it's happening all over the place, like there's hundreds and stuff. I think this proves, first of all, that that's a little overblown. But I think now with doing what we're doing, and I could tell the public that we've had many hearings this year to prove residencies before the board, more so than at any time since I since I got elected to the board. I think that Fairlawn is now, people are going to think twice about trying to get into the schools. I really applaud your efforts and what you're doing.
Thank you. It is a team effort. At the community school, I have a number of employees that work with me, and between the 3-4 of us, that's why we're able to get so much done. I speak to other districts, because this is shared responsibilities at the community school, responsible for a number of other things in the district. And because we are able to share the employees that we have there, that's why other districts are actually looking towards us as almost a model. At these registrar meetings, I'm getting a lot of people, can I see what you do? Can I have some of your affidavits? Can I have some of your forms, your flyers? That's a great idea. Can I talk to you about that another time? So it is what we're doing here is working well.
Jeff.
Yeah, just want to make a comment for the board that one of the things I think we could also be doing as a deterrent is not only going after tuition every single time, but publicizing that and making an advertisement if we have to. Unless people know exactly what we're doing and that we are going to do it, and it's not a if, it is a we will. You should advertise that. And we have lovely people here, and I'm sure some lovely people watching. However, it should go out to the masses that we're going to get you.
We are in the works of having an article for the paper.
Awesome.
So,
Thank
especially
you.
now that we have all these statistics.
Cindy?
Yes.
I was just wondering, all of the advanced technology with Adobe and all of these other things, how are you able to determine whether or not something has been tampered, is not official or whatever?
It's not easy, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't trained in it. I've been learning as best as I can. Sometimes we'll have the investigator look at it to see if he can see anything. He's a former police officer. You can sometimes spot if there's a fraudulent document, but that's why we require so many different proofs.
Right.
I mean, to me, I take it as a compliment, but also a little bit of fear, because we've been compared to the DMV being much stricter than the DMV is. And like I said, that's a compliment, but it also scares me a lot, because I know what they're doing over there. So we've looked at things a lot, and it's tough, because especially with a lot of bills are now online,
Yep.
and companies don't care where the address says, as long as they're getting paid. So it definitely makes things much more challenging, which is why we do sometimes have to do some mailings and so on.
Keep up the good work.
No, thank you.
Any board members, questions, comments? Anybody from the audience have a question, comment? Okay.
I just wanted to add how important this is and also how it got started. So I think, as most people know, the board goes to every year the New Jersey School Boards Association convention. So when we were at convention 2 years ago, I went to a workshop about verified residency. We came back, we started to talk about it. The startling number and the impressive number that Mike gave us is 32 students withdrawn from the district since 2016. The verified residency program costs about $7,000 or $8,000, so that is quite a payoff. Not everyone was withdrawn because of verified residency, but that's really a tremendous result. And it is really important that we protect our district, we protect our taxpayers, and we protect our kids and our seats. You know, it is not fair to Fair Lawn residents to have out-of-town students attending our school district, nor is it fair to the students. You know, the student from out of town is taking away from a Fair Lawn resident, is taking something away. And, you know, 32 to me, that's, I know they're all spread out on every different grade level. That's a big number. And it's a considerable amount of money. If you look at what we spend per child, let's say it's $15,000 and you do the math, you know, Mike's work would have been very effective, and this just added to it. But that's one of the ways the Board of Education becomes efficient and serves its own taxpayers. And I'm proud of the work you did. I'm also proud of the work that the board did on this. You know, there are other boards that don't get aggressive in this area of residency. They leave it alone because it could result in litigation. But that's not the case here. Fair Lawn schools are for Fair Lawn kids.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
So I want to just continue with a few comments before we get into the main agenda. And just an update on the referendum. As you know, we continue to move forward with making lots of presentations. So we have our next referendum meeting. That's coming up, that I have been going to, and board members have been joining me, but the next one, next week's a short week. We have Thomas Jefferson School PTA at 7 o'clock. Monday. This week I did 4 referendum presentations, and I really want to thank our board members who have been attending with me, and so we've been all over the town. Some have been with parents, some have been in religious institutions. Today was in a service club that we did. We had Rotary, Temple Beth Shalom, a couple at the schools, but Mary has been at several of them and is a legend in one particular group. Mark, Cindy, Elise, and then also today Brooke joined us for one. But we continue to talk about the referendum, to put information out there. The website gets updated all of the time. And when I did a presentation to the Milnes faculty on Monday, I think, I asked the faculty members whether they had any suggestions, and they said, well, what if we just put the referendum brochures that we're making, the PowerPoint, just put it in the lobby if people want to pick it up. So we started to do that. You'll notice when you walked into Edison School, there's a handful. Take one if you'd like. They're identical in all of the buildings. Also, when people come to events, we're going to be soon getting into our concert, winter concert. You know, they'll be at the doors. So lots of information out there. And again, if you know of anybody else I know Marcus, you took the words out of my mouth the other night, let me know. Scheduled a whole bunch of future things, the League of Women Voters, and then I have the senior citizens of Fair Lawn coming up, daycares, I have a couple now coming up at daycares. They just keep winding up, and it's great that board members come. There's a lot of
I
symbolism.
went at the Dutch House, we'll all be there.
Put it on the calendar. You can do the PowerPoint, because my throat's really, it's worn out. I talked about this for quite a while.
I was approached by a parent at Westmoreland after being at Westmoreland's PTO meeting with you and Mark and Mike. And they were having a vendor party at Rail Yard on Sunday. And she asked me whether or not I would come, with brochures or whatever, just, to reach, because people from the community were coming out. So I did. I reached out to Dr. Palestis. He gave me a handful of things, and I was there on Sunday. It wasn't very well attended, but I did speak to some people, so I figured, 2 is better than none. And, I told the woman from Westmoreland if there was anything else, that the PTOs were having, to just let me know, and maybe we could just be there and, and just hand out the brochures, the PowerPoint presentation. I think that's the way we have to go, until at which time, Flair kicks into place and does whatever they're gonna do, but word of mouth is definitely, and face-to-face contact, with people is definitely, a good thing. And I was happy to have, gone and reached out.
We also have a Facebook presence now on the district page. Lisa's been coordinating that. We've been posting information. So, yes.
You want, and the idea of handing it out, for the concerts and things, would it be inappropriate for us to hand them out at concerts?
We
high
are
school?
handing them out at concerts.
Like physically?
We
Oh, you
put,
just
no,
like stand at the
we just
door?
put them on a table and take one, and we want to be sensitive to the needs of the parents. If the parent doesn't want one, that's okay. They're there. And it's just, what I find is that parents are interested in this, and they want to know the information. We have American Education Week. They'll be there in the school if people want them. We're not high pressuring people, but handing them out is not a problem. It's, we're not doing a lot of that face-to-face in the schools when parents are there for a different reason. So there's a lot out there in the community, which I think is good. And I can tell you that the public, I think they view it as very meaningful when board members go, because this cannot be viewed as the administration's referendum. This is our boards, but also the communities. I feel that sense is growing. We have a long way to go. And then, by the way, our next referendum presentation is about demographics, and that will be coming up the first week of December.
Is that the 11th?
Mary had a hand up first.
I'm sorry.
Proceed to Mary.
Mary.
So when we went to Temple Beth Shalom, that was the pre-K. And the parents who were there signed up and are very interested in assisting Flair.
That's
So
great.
that was very good. And they were former students of the school district. There were 3 of them were my former students. So they are planning their children to be attending Fairlawn schools, and they are interested in hooking up with Flair. So Ernie has their names and addresses for Flair. So it is, I think even talking with small groups, it doesn't matter. People feel that they're being involved, and it's positive, it's productive.
Ron?
Arnie, can I get some of those pamphlets?
Sure,
Because
sure.
I apologize, but my schedule with teaching and everything else, I haven't had time to get to any of these.
Sure, and
presentations.
anybody else who needs sets,
But
let me know, we'll just run them.
But I have been speaking to a lot of my customers in this town, and they're interested in it, so if I have information, I'm still out there talking about it. I'm gonna try to attend some of the presentations, unfortunately, like I said, with my schedule right now,
No,
I teach everything
that's a
else.
great idea.
There's nothing I can do, but if I have them, I can speak to a lot of them.
Anybody else wants them, just let me know, and I'll put a stack in the update when it goes home tomorrow.
Yes,
And
please.
you can distribute them to the neighbors, reread it yourself. The PowerPoint might change from time to time, because as we get more information, maybe I'll add a slide or two, but basically it's together. It refers people back to the webpage and to the Facebook page. People can still email in questions, call in questions.
I'd like
So,
to my
move.
temple.
Okay.
Jeff?
Yeah, two things. You've been to the Fairlawn Jewish Center?
No, we went to Temple Bet Shalom, but not the Jewish Center.
If you'd like me to help make arrangements
I
for
would.
that, please, shoot me an email.
Yeah.
Also, do you mind if I talk about our conversation with the Plan B, or do you want me to wait on that?
Why don't we wait on that until?
Sure thing.
So, I mean, we're here to help. I've said to all of the groups, the board has made a commitment to give people information. You have to have information. That's our commitment to you. We're doing our best. If anybody else has an idea about how to better communicate this, let me know. We're now starting with the preschools. I thought that was a great idea. I have a list of preschools to go and visit, because what's interesting about preschools is I personally don't know who they are, and they're not in our database unless, we might have some older brothers or sisters. So if we don't know, we don't have a way of contacting them. And there are quite a few preschools and daycares in the community. Elise?
No, I was just thinking, because we're so tech savvy now, like at events like at the musical at the high school, like maybe in the lobby, we could
Yeah,
set up,
absolutely.
we could set up the PowerPoint, because it's pretty silent, and you could just be set up and just like on a loop, and if people are standing in the lobby, before the show or before the musical or whatever, maybe they'll watch a little bit and be interested in it.
That's a fabulous idea. Also, the other good news is our teachers. Our Teachers Association is behind this 100%. They're going to be doing a video in favor of the referendum, and they're doing that all on their own. But I like that idea. We can just
I mean, I
set it
know
up and let it
the middle
run.
schools have some things and just be set up in a corner, and somebody watches
Very
it. and-
unobtrusive, and you're
Right,
not
it's kind of just
forcing it
hanging
down their
out,
throat,
right, yeah.
which they don't want. Ron?
No, I was saying, to add to what Elise saying, you got masks is coming up at the end of November. It's actually from Tuesday all the way to Sunday, so there's actually almost, there's like 8 shows, so that's, and then, it's not, people while they're waiting for the show, they're always looking at other things, so just to see that on a wall, nobody really talking and just rerunning itself is not gonna be, I don't think, a problem. I think people would find that interesting.
Good. So anything else, referendum?
I just think that when we do go to these places, there's people that haven't been at meetings, so they don't know what's going on, so you're reaching other people in the community that aren't aware of it, and I think it's really, even like when we were at the PTA meetings, they said, well, we didn't really know this, and then you explained a lot to them, and they, it was great, I think.
It is. I mean, I think it's, we're at least getting the word out there. And the final item I just wanted to briefly touch upon is our strategic plan. But I'm not, sure how all of you are perceiving it, but I really like what's going on. I think the first 2 meetings were really wonderful, very democratic. Everybody had good ideas and were able to collaborate. There's one more meeting to go, and I'm looking forward to that. Our crowd was better at the second meeting than it was at the first. We have a nice list of tentative goals. If anybody still has not been involved, you can always attend the third meeting. But, administratively, when we talk about it, it's been fun and it's been meaningful. And it's nice to have community input into what we do in our school district.
I just want to say, what did we have, 4 or 5 different groups we broke out into, and there was a couple of, several common themes that everybody in all the groups agreed to, which shows that we're all thinking, and I'm not saying we were 100% agreement, there was some disagreement along the way, but the overarching themes were pretty much, this is what we want to do as a town. So from that aspect, it looked like everybody got to say their opinion, and they made their opinion known, and then a lot of people were thinking along the same lines of what we should do in the future. So I was very pleased with that.
It was fun, it's cool. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. All right, we go on to regular business.
Use the lavatory real quick. Excuse me.
Okay. I can't wait for you, though.
No,
Oh, okay.
that's why I'm just letting you know.
All right, G1, approval of minutes, G2, approval of policies. A motion for G1 and G2, please.
So, second.
Members of the members of the board, any questions on 1 or 2? G1? Members of the audience? Emily, could you just state your name?
Oh, I'm Emily Cohen, I'm guarding you. Are the policies available to the public if they want to look at them?
Yes.
How would they get access?
They will be available on the web, starting tomorrow.
Under the policy search?
Yep, the new ones will go out there.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, information items are on page 5. S1, retirement and special resolutions. Mary, you asked if you could read that, so.
Resolution regarding the retirement of Mr. Gene Couple. Whereas Mr. Gene Couple, a dedicated mathematics educator in the Fairlawn School District since 1992, has requested retirement at the end of the day on December 31st, 2017, and whereas Mr. Gene Couple, during his years of devoted service, has stimulated and influenced intellectual, physical, emotional, and moral growth in young, malleable minds, and has assisted many students in evaluating their inherent creative talents and special math aptitudes for the purpose of making wise choices in future careers. And whereas Mr. Couple worked tirelessly above and beyond his classroom duties to involve students in a myriad of activities related to their individual growth and development, as well as broadening their understanding and appreciation of the math curriculum. Therefore, be it further resolved that the Board of Education extends its sincere appreciation for the many years of conscientious service rendered by Mr. Couple, and wishes for him much good health and happiness in his retirement. And be it further resolved that the Secretary to the Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes, and that the Superintendent of Schools present a copy of this resolution to the employee being so honored.
I can have a motion for S1?
So moved. Second.
Comments, Mike?
So, there's no doubt that Mr. Couple is, in my mind, that Mr. Couple is one of the finest educators that we have in Fairlawn. He's done tremendous things for TJ. We've had our run-ins as sometimes happens with, in his role as FLE president. But always able to leave with a better feeling once the issue is resolved, and is able to, he's always able to shake your hand. I wish him the best in his retirement, but Fairlawn is losing an incredible educator.
Mary?
Yes, so Mr. Couple called me last night, and he said that he wanted the board to know that he wanted to be here. And he has a former student who is performing tonight at the Philharmonic, and said, is it the Philharmonic? Well,
I don't remember.
it's pretty big,
Yeah.
and sent him a ticket to please be his guest.
You can say
I agree with Mike that Mr. Couple has been a wonderful teacher, and I was able to work with him for quite a few years at TJ. He has an interesting life, had an interesting life. He was Mr. America. He was also a newscaster before he went into education. And he made a wonderful video for us, and I believe he's gonna do another one for us. And to add to what Mike said, in terms of his service as president of the Teachers Union, he did his job, and he did it well for this union. He did what a union president is supposed to do. And you're right, at the end of it all, we could still shake hands, and we could still have a cordial relationship. So I am thrilled for his retirement, because retirement is wonderful. I wish him well, and hope that he has many wonderful things in the future, because he's had an interesting past.
Cindy?
Hey, I also want to wish Gene well. When I served as board president, he reached out to me a couple of times. We had some conversations, and I think it's important for the board president to have a relationship with the union. It only makes things gel for the district, and I think he's a wonderful teacher. I've heard nothing but good things from the people that he has taught. And I wish him many, many years of relaxation and all good things.
Right.
I know Gene, grew up with Gene. We go way back to Fort Lee, we're actually relatives, distant relatives. I know about Gene. Gene has been unique since growing up. I went to school with his brother, Larry, who's a career Navy person. And you could see way back that Gene had it in him to be an educator because of the way he treated people. He was always investigative, always wanted to learn more, always wanted to find out, go beyond what the answer was. And I've heard nothing but great things from parents around here whose children have had him. I've heard it from students that have had him. And it's always funny. Paul will laugh. I remember being on a negotiating team first time I was on the board, and I said, just let me and Gene go have a little cappuccino or something. We'll get this thing straightened out, without some other people in the room. But I am happy for him. I actually, last time I saw him, talked to him about 6 months ago, I said, when are you retiring? He says, why are you saying that? We're about the same age. I said, well, you got the time in, but I wish him nothing but the best. I know he's going to really enjoy his life because he likes to travel. He's very adventurous. He has a lot of extracurricular interest that he does, like you were saying about going to the Philharmonic or something. So I wish him nothing but best, and I'm happy that I got to work with him because, like I said, we did grow up together since we were about 5 years old. So we went to school together. So I'm really happy for him. So I wish him nothing but the best.
I just want to say I met him in 1995, and he's probably the only teacher in district that I visited every year. I made a point to go see him every year after 1995. He's a phenomenal human being.
Gene came to the district in 1992. I got elected in 1992. Same thing happened with Bruce. Bruce is gone. Now Gene's leaving. But they're getting a pension, I'm not. So I don't blame him. But Gene had two of my kids, and he's a phenomenal teacher. He's just kids really are drawn to him. He relates to them. He understands how to teach. He's just been a great asset to the district. And as president of the union, yeah, we butted heads more than once. But like Mary said, he was doing his job. And at first, sometimes you get mad, but then you think about, well, if he didn't do his job, I wouldn't have any respect for the man. And he did his job. He did what he thought was right, and he wasn't obnoxious about it. He just did his job. So he's earned his retirement. I know he's gonna. There's a picture of him. I think it's on Facebook of skydiving, which that's pretty nervy. So, and you're right. He likes to travel. He's always talking about places he's gone and things he's done. And he deserves it, and I think he's going to have a great time. And I wish him a long and happy retirement. Ernie, you want to say anything?
One of the more poignant memories I have during the years when Gene came in to tell me that he was retiring. And what I remember is how emotional he was about talking about teaching, not about himself. And that really touched me. I mean, he is a real educator who cares about kids. It came out in the conversation. And we talked about life and how important it is to enjoy it even after we have our careers. So, but a gentleman always to me, and an advocate for Fairlawn and our kids. I want to salute his service. And he conducted himself with distinction, and that's something that I think everyone would want to be said about him upon the retirement.
Any members of the audience? Jim?
On behalf of, as sponsor president, on behalf of the building administration, I have to echo everything that we heard here, but also Gene was a real collaborator. We meaning all the principals, we worked with him many times on issues that never got to the board because he was a collaborator. We worked together to solve problems before they became bigger problems. He's been nothing but a gentleman for all these, I've known him for 16 years, and really is truly, as Dr. Palesta said, he truly is a teacher who's dedicated and takes such pride in the profession that we are gonna miss him. And there's several times I tried to convince him to come to the high school, but he didn't.
No, he liked his middle school. He did. Okay. Well, that being said, just on S1, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay. You can't retire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, S2, approval of county state submission requirements. S3, disenrollments. S4, other business. Goes on and on. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Motion on S2 through S4.
So moved. Second.
All right, questions or comments from the board on S2 to S4? Ron?
I think it's phenomenal. Of all the scholarships that we just picked up for these children, I love the one for Joanne.
Yeah.
That was very nice,
Yeah,
Joanne.
that was nice there.
Are they gonna get a little bronze statue of Joanne too? I gotta call her and ask her. if she's-
Green eye shade and
Yeah,
a calculator.
Yeah, you know, a calculator. Yeah, right?
Let's not forget hot dogs on
That's
the
hot dog,
table.
I know.
Be a bronze
Don't worry,
statue.
before you leave, you and I are going on a trip, but, no, I just think it's really, really nice that every year, and we all know that's one of the greatest nights, the senior awards. I've had 2 children go through and did well academically. It's just a great night to see all these people donate money for scholarship to help these children, because let's face it, every year college gets more and more expensive, so anything you can get can help. So I just think it's really great. When I opened this up and read this today, and Mr. and Mrs. It's Blum, is it Blum?
Bloom, I think.
It's Blum. Is it Blum?
Bloom would have it.
Well, either way, I hope I didn't pronounce it improperly, but I think it's tremendous the amount of scholarships that family is giving in their memories. So, and what's nice about it too, one last thing, they're all different, like, you know, it's different types of careers or what they're into, so I think that's really good. It's not focused on, like even Joanne's, one's for business and then one's partly for swim people. I guess Joanne was an Olympic swimmer.
Olympic swimmer, yes.
She was an Olympic swimmer.
Not Olympic, but a
Yeah.
swimmer.
Mike?
I echo everything you said. You kind of took the words out of my mouth. Something in the trust of Elizabeth Blum or Bloom. The last one is for someone that's designed going into to someone going into a technical field, and I thought that was pretty impressive, because when you look at it, it's a technical field, math, I think, and English. So that's a pretty good deal. And Joanne, you know what? I find myself thinking about Joanne every so often, and when I saw that, I'm like, oh. We love you, Brooke, but
We love Joanne.
we had Joanne for a long
They
time.
keep on doing that.
Cindy?
I just wanted to say, I remember the night of Joanne's retirement thing, when John Cosgrove presented her with that proclamation. I never saw anybody so over-the-top happy to, and I feel that she feels the same way about doing this with the scholarship. Like, I never saw somebody so happy to be listening to him read this, and it was just what she was, who she was, why, you know, and the fact that there's a day named after her, she just couldn't believe it. And now, you know, if this scholarship continues, you know, her name is going down in infamy, and you know.
Not in infamy.
No.
No, infamy is bad.
Infamy is bad.
I don't know. Joanne,
I'm sorry.
I think I'm with infamy.
It's only good.
Yes, it's
But
good.
thank you for correcting me, now that I feel like a total moron.
I just want to correct for the record, we are on tape.
You should correct it for the record. I'll try to get a dictionary next time.
We're at the source. Okay, anybody else, members of the board, members of the audience? Emily?
Okay, Emily from Earnview. So I have two questions. One is, under S2, what is the memorandum of agreement with the Fairlawn Police Department and our interim superintendent? Is that standard protocol or is there?
Yes, so in New Jersey, every school district must have a memorandum of agreement with the local police. That's been in effect now for maybe 15 years. So what it does is the chief and I will sit and review our protocols. So, and the protocol could be simple, such as what do we do together? So are there any services that we share? So for example, last year we talked about, and we have now, our video cameras are connected to the police headquarters. We have 3 police officers in our school, but in general, the memorandum of agreement talks about when do the police come into a building, when do I mandatorily have to contact the police, when do they mandatorily have to contact me. It defines many of the terms that could be confusing unless they were defined. So what is a weapon? We talk about search and seizure. And so it really is a document that takes all of that information and puts it together. Now, I can tell you that for almost all districts, they're pretty much identical.
Yeah.
For almost all districts, they're pretty much, it would be rare to add something to the memorandum of agreement. So we do that, I sign off on it, Gene signs off on it, and then it goes to the county prosecutor's office. They review it at the prosecutor's office because they're a part of that relationship as well. So that, in general terms, is what the memorandum of agreement is.
My second question is inspired by the donations for the scholarships. I'm curious to ask the board if the district has had a foundation for Fairlawn schools, like a entity that people can contribute money to as a affiliated but private foundation. I know some of our neighboring school districts have such an entity, and I'm just wondering if that's been discussed recently, if that's an explicit decision why we don't have an active foundation, or if that's just something.
Talking about an education foundation?
Yes, Education Foundation.
Usually a foundation, and I've been involved in districts that have foundations, is not started by the board. It's independent of the board and started by citizens to support the board.
My recollection is we really don't have, not allowed to have a lot to do with
Yeah,
it.
we're not, we can't do that fundraising piece. So when I was in a Morris County district, a foundation started that began to raise money. And they did nice events like 5K races, and they had galas for the parents. They would then target an amount of money and also target an amount, a type of donation. So in that particular case, the donations went to science equipment and computer equipment. So certainly, I think I can say with authority on behalf of the board, we would love it if someone in the community picked up the gauntlet and said, we want to start an educational foundation in Fairlawn. We cannot do one ourselves, but we can work with the foundation if one is established. And they're really meaningful, and there are some towns that do unbelievable things with foundations.
Joan?
When I was at the board convention, I went to the Educational Foundation. They had a whole workshop on it, and I brought back information, and it was very, very interesting. They raised a lot of money for the schools, and I think it's something that Fairlawn probably, if we could get somebody interested in it, would be very worthwhile.
Mike?
Something, you need someone that is willing to stay in it and take the ball and go with it. I've seen it done in the district I work for. The problem that sometimes happens, if you don't have that person, and then you don't have a person to replace that person when they're done, it kind of falls by the wayside. So I've been touting a foundation for a while, and like everyone said, we can't really organize it. But I think it would be a great thing for Fairlawn.
Just to piggyback on this, I think maybe if the PTO and PTAs get involved, maybe they can create a foundation and follow it through on there.
Part of the problem with the PTA getting involved is they're kind of going after some of the same money.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only
Can I
problem.
just comment on that?
Well, let Ron and then Michelle.
No, just to add to what they were saying, I know a bunch of towns that have them, and I can tell you right now, like Rutherford's had it for years. They run 4 big fundraisers a year. One of them is their casino night where they have over 700 people. This year, they were able to give Chromebooks to everybody in the district. But like everybody said here, it's a great idea, we had it, it's a lot of work. You need dedicated people, because we're not involved, they run it. And by the way, anybody in the district wants something, they have to sign like a grant form to go to them. So you can't just say, hey, I need $30,000, I wanna buy this. They could deny it, say, we're not giving it to you this year, next year we'll give you that. I think it's a great idea, and like you said, but we need to find the people, because like Mike said, it's a lot of work. And like you said, just putting that casino night on is like a year thing, they said, but they love it. It helps them get tremendous amount of things in their district, so.
Michelle, you want to say something?
I just wanted to point
Just
out
state your
that-
name for the tape.
Oh, Michelle Nappy, 1251 Fifth Street. Many of the PTAs and PTOs, I believe almost all of them, do scholarships for the district also. And as far as the foundation, we're really not supposed to do that because we are involved usually with our school. So a lot of times if the school needs something, then we'll come to their PTA and the PTA can do a fundraiser for that item. I mean, the schools, pretty much almost all the smart boys in some of the schools were funds raised by the PTA or PTOs of the district. So we can't run a foundation, but we can always raise money for something if it's needed, that something the district can't provide, or it's needed for that school. But if you ever wanted to donate, PTA will never turn you down for a donation. You know, you can always donate to your local PTA and say this money can go towards a scholarship, which would always help. The school might be able to provide another scholarship, where maybe they only provided 1 or 2. But there's a lot of money that we raise for scholarships, so it's there. You have to be a PTA member to get it.
I was just gonna say that Bill Fimmel and I tried to start it up when he was here, and then when he was leaving, he was gonna run it, but then he ended up moving away.
Right, yeah.
So
Yeah,
we had the letter crafted. What our idea was to send it to past graduates, because there's a lot of, I say infamous graduates, there's a lot of people that have been very successful coming out of Fairlawn schools, and so that was our idea, was to send a letter saying, you know, pay it forward. But it just never happened because he moved to Pompton
Right,
Plains.
Pompton Lakes, yeah.
So if let's say there's an older person who sells their home, but they wanna make a gift to the community, and they really wanna make it to the district as a whole, and not to any one particular school, they would just make that gift directly to the board,
They would
right?
contact Brooke and we can, sure. You know somebody who wants to sell their house and give us the proceeds? Brooke will take care of it.
And a little while ago, you inquired about board policies. If the board has policies on accepting gifts, we would have to do so at a public meeting and so on and so forth. No one's ever given any of my boards a house, so we're really receptive to that. That's
Actually, Bergen Ave was a gift back in the 50s.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that was a gift from somebody, right? They just gave us the property and the building.
wow.
But that was
Still looks the same as it
seven.
did in 1990. Hasn't changed, but I set the boiler, it's about 20 years old now. I put it in, so I know.
70 years ago. It's been a while. All right, anyone else? Members of the board? Okay, you can have a roll call, please?
Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel.
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Piella,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush, Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace,
Yes.
and Mr. Banta.
Yes. E1, attendance at conference, conventions, workshops. E2, approval of extracurricular trips. E3, approval of student, teachers, interns, practicums, field of observation placement. E4, approval of bedside home instruction. E5, no items. E6, grants entitlements. E7 and E8, no items. E9, no items. A motion for E1 through E9, please.
Second.
Members of the board, questions, comments?
Just got quick.
Okay.
Jeff? I want to thank Dr. Flex and the administration for allowing us the opportunity to approve all the extracurriculars that our students will get to experience and the learning outside of the classroom. And I know that some of the other board members have shared up my fondness for students who have these opportunities. So I appreciate that is, and I say this every time you put them on it, I know, but it's very hard to underestimate how important these experiences are to their learning. So thank you. And that's all.
Yes, E, 6, C, and D. It may seem insignificant, but I would appreciate it if you could put beginning and ending dates on these agenda items.
For which ones, I'm sorry?
C and D for E6. There are no beginning and ending dates.
So you will be getting home, so for D, for example, those are individual workshops. There will be approximately one offered every month to parents of particular students. And so it's actually a whole year, but they are very specific dates. Some we haven't determined exactly, we just know the month right
I'm
now.
not talking about specific, I'm just talking about
Oh,
from
so if we just
December
say from
through
December
June.
through June, okay,
Right,
got
right,
you.
so we have some
Sure,
idea.
absolutely, and so I will tell you that those are from November through June for both of them. Okay, but we will do that.
Ron?
Do we, it sounds like a stupid question, I'm just curious. Our math league, I don't know if you guys, do we have like multiple teams? Math league team, the only reason I'm saying is they're doing a lot of traveling. I mean, they're on the road a lot. Don't they have any home games? Any home matches? I mean.
So it's like ongoing competitions and.
But now,
so-
why does it vary differently? I'm just saying that, like, sometimes 15 students are going, then next time 20 students are going, and I was just curious. I apologize, I did not get a chance to call you today.
That's okay.
It's been crazy.
If you give me a minute, I'll.
Yeah, but one of the other things too is, I just wanted to ask, is that our business leaders of America are going to the ice vault. Are they going to ice skate, or are they going to learn things about business there? I'm not being, facetious, I'm just asking. Well, if they're going for ice skate, it's a great place, but, it's a great place. I mean, if you don't-
So, one of the reasons it might be different numbers of students, they are different types of competitions.
Oh, okay,
Okay, for the math.
okay,
And you're asking about FBLA?
yes,
On December 1st?
yes.
That is social. They are going ice skating.
Oh, that's good, no, that's good.
Right, they raised the funds for that.
No, I was just curious, because I know the place very well, because I inspect it, and I wondered if they had something that I was missing, so.
Yeah.
But I just thought the math team had like, they're always on the road, I'm like, don't we have any home games here or something like that?
Did I see another hand? No? Members of the audience, E1 through E9? Emily?
Can I ask about E16?
State your name for the tape, please.
Emily, from Garview. The approval for ELL and immigrant parent workshops, just explain what those workshops are, what they entail, and if there's any evidence of their success, like of their success, like what they're trying to achieve and what they will achieve.
So Title III is, these are federal funds that are supposed to be specifically earmarked for students that are English language learners. And then there's Title III immigrant funds, which are students who are classified as immigrants. They've born outside the United States. They've attended schools in the U.S. for less than 3 years. And so there are federal funds that are available for those students as well. One of the big pushes of the federal government is involvement. They want family involvement. They want parent education. So we have put money towards creating workshops for the parents, and there's a variety of workshops offered. So there was just one about music. Music is another language, and so there were 2 teachers that presented a workshop for parents to talk about all the opportunities for their children in district to get involved through music, whether it's choral, whether it is instrumental. So some of it is just to acclimate parents to the school district and to the U.S. school system. We're doing things with Genesis, teaching parents how to use Genesis and how to access different information for their children. We've done workshops on financial aid when students are going to college. We've done some workshops in the past on helping the families get computer skills, things like that. So
So we will be doing some of those workshops again this year. Some will be on the state testing for children, which is access testing for our ELs. So we have a list of them. That's pretty much a summary of what they are.
And any evidence of their success, are they?
So basically, we are trying to increase parent involvement. So that is our goal. And so we are looking at the actual enrollment from year to year. So, and that's what we measure, even through the grant, that's what we indicate.
How many people come to the workshops? Is that-
It depends. Anywhere from,
Oh, no, that's what you're measuring.
that's
the
what we're gonna be
enrollment.
measuring, yeah. Okay.
Any other members of the audience? Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Piella?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell? Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. P1, approval of appointments. P2, approval of resignations, retirements. P3, approval of leave of absences, amendments of leave, rescission of leave. P4, change of personnel assignment status. P5, additional remuneration. P6, approval of promotion. A motion on items P1 through P6.
So moved.
Second.
Members of the board, questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yes.
I asked a few years ago that when there were new hirees, that a small blurb was to be given for each one, so that we had some indication as to the credentials and so forth, which you've been doing, which has been very helpful. Also, and I don't know how the board feels about, no, you've been doing it, I said,
Oh, okay.
which has been very helpful. I don't know how the board feels about this, but there are and have been incidences where teachers have been moved from one school to another. Is it possible for us to get a little blurb on the reason behind these changes that are being made?
Yes, it's certainly possible. We could do the research and find out. Sometimes they're moving from one year to the next, and we're just catching up because we're doing state reporting. Other times, we have a need and we have to put somebody someplace else, but we can do the research.
If the rest of the board feels.
What was that again? I apologize, Mark. I was.
What I'm saying is, there are times when teachers are moved from one school to another. I would like to really know why there was a need to move them. I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
I don't think it's necessary.
I just wanna say that it does say September 1st effective, so this is
That means
really
it's
like
this
a
year.
correction, because we're doing our state testing, so sometimes.
State reporting.
It's like the state
Yeah.
reporting where we're correcting where their actual chart of accounts is.
Every staff member is reported to the state.
No, I know that. I
So
know that.
every year, and sometimes, they're split. You'll see there's a PE teacher on here that's split 0.8 and then 0.6 and 0.2. It's solely because the schedule's changed and we have to keep up with almost 1,000 people.
But I know that come February, March, and so forth, there are also times when other individuals are moved from one school to another.
Teachers, really?
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I don't see the need for the board to be that deep in the weeds. I really don't. I mean, I understand your thinking, but I don't agree that we need to know that teacher from Westmoreland is moved over for .5 to Radburn because they need that person. To me, that just seems it's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, I know other people felt that way when we also asked for a little blurb as to why we were hiring certain individuals.
Yeah, and I felt that way about that too. I mean, I got outvoted, but that's how I felt about that too. But I'm just telling you my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm on 1 out of 9, so.
I feel the same as Jean. I don't feel a need to know that.
Oh, sorry, Cindy.
No, I agree. I think that that's daily running and they're putting people where they're needed for whatever reason. I don't really think I think it's outside of our purview.
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, show of hands, who would like that information be sent home in a packet when it happens?
If it's not too much like major trouble, I'd like
It's a little blurb, that's all.
Are they talking about are you talking about moving from year, like, for the year
No,
to
teacher
year?
like
From school
moving
to
from
school?
Westmoreland to
Well, yeah, but I'm
Radburn
saying, is
or.
it just temporary we're moving them, or we're moving
It
them?
could be, it depends on the situation.
Okay, because I would only wanna see if it's like permanent, like all of a sudden. Like, I've asked you in the past, how come somebody got a job as a secretary, they were part-time and stuff, did we go out to everybody? Like, that was my concern, like, I was just like, well, we handpicked it.
That might be easier
So-
if you want to question, if you see it and you want to call me.
Well, the
or-
question would be, we moved the music teacher from TJ to Memorial because there are more classes in Memorial that need the services done.
Yeah, and that typically, like I said, that happens at the beginning of most years, not mid-year. It's just not very unusual that we.
Then you would have much less to write.
I agree, or you could ask me and I can answer it.
I would just ask her. I would just ask her.
Well, you got 2 people that want it, 7 that don't care, so,
Okay?
okay.
I'll just ask her.
You can do that.
I do.
All right, any other questions, comments on P1 through P6?
I just,
Right, yeah.
I tell you, I knew we had them, but are we growing in clubs at the middle school too? It's amazing.
No,
I mean,
I'm very fastidious about that, you're not growing, no.
We're not?
No, you're swapping, like,
but I
you take
mean-
something old and put something new in.
Okay, all right,
But no,
because
you've
but it
had
just
that
seems
then.
like we have more than we've had.
Yeah, I know, no.
I mean, which is great, because I think there's some really, really good clubs for these young things. But one question I do have, why do we have a national, and my son, I'll say it as a proud father, was for one of the first inductees in the Memorial, a National Junior Honor Society there, and we do not have it at TJ? Why? Can anybody answer me that question?
I cannot answer.
I know the answer.
What's the answer?
The answer is that there was teachers that organized it at Memorial, and no one tried to get that either.
Well, the reason I asked.
I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm not saying right or wrong.
I'll
but
say
I
right or
know-
wrong. First of all, I think it's wrong. I think we have one district with 2 middle schools. And number 2, I've had many people ask me the same question, and not even particularly from TJ, asking me parents from Memorial. And I just think it's wrong that those children have an opportunity to be in a society at that age, like they do in high school, and the other children don't. And I mean, I know we can't force teachers to do it, but I just think it's something that needs to be looked into or investigated. That's my personal opinion.
I agree with that.
No, that's your committee, right? Your
Athletic.
athletics and extracurricular?
Yes.
So maybe that's something you want to look at next time your committee meets.
Okay.
We'll talk to,
Committee is meeting on Monday.
Which
well,
unfortunately
that might be a
can't
little
there.
soon. but-
Right, and I wouldn't know who to have there to address that.
Talk to Ernie and Natalie, they'll figure it
Okay.
out.
I think
We can look at it. I mean, if the interest isn't there, that's one thing, but,
I thought that they tried to get.
well, get the information and let us know, that's all. I mean, maybe that's the case, the interest wasn't there. But it's something that a committee should look into.
Can I ask a question about that then? Just in terms of procedure?
Yep.
Just say it's posted as a stipend job for teachers, and nobody wants it. So the students all at one school would miss out because the teachers,
No.
how would it work then?
If you have the interest, a
By the
teacher could be
student.
assigned,
Okay.
1 year.
Just 1 year.
Teacher could be assigned under the contract. We can appoint the teacher. No, obviously you'd hope for a volunteer,
Of course.
but no, so that person can be picked for 1 year and then the next year you could pick somebody else.
Okay.
It's not the ideal situation,
Of
but it
course
can be
not.
done that way.
Okay, it was just clarifying that
Yeah.
it's possible that this could happen despite whether or not people wanted to volunteer before,
Right,
in terms of interest.
but it
Okay.
looks like a hilly decent stipend, so.
When-
Yeah, it's a little chunk of change.
Mike, can I just
Go on
ask you,
vacation with that.
for what determines the interest? Like, are we looking for interest in the children being?
Children, yeah.
Mary's saying teachers, you're saying children.
No, if you have children who want to do it, if you get 30 kids that want to do it, you don't have a teacher,
That I understand.
then you can pick a teacher.
No, okay, what I'm saying is like, my point would be is like, why would children, like, wouldn't the teachers be the ones to initiate that? Like more, I'm thinking you're gonna get like 35 kids, 40 kids that are very smart saying, why don't we have a national? Now that I could see, now that there's one already over at Memorial.
It was teachers that
Did it in Memorial.
in Memorial, and I will reach out to Sherry and I'll find out.
All right, I just, like I said, I'm not trying to start trouble. I just, find it very, I think it's, I apologize, but I just think it's wrong. You know, we're one district. I know another district where I work has 2 high schools, have 2 different policies, which I think is a joke. Okay, that's serious, that's true. So I just think, it should all be unified, that they should have the opportunity, that's all.
Mary?
So I agree, but it could be that there was a lack of interest that year, and then it was, nobody was asked again. It is worth talking to Sherry, and you know, every 2 years or so, again broaching the fact, this is an oversight, this is not good. We should have them in both schools, because there's constantly new teachers being hired, and there may be somebody now with a great deal of interest in it. So I think that would be a good way to, you know, if there are not equal things at both, and I know Ernie's working on the curriculum part, but the clubs and activities are different. But there's a question where every 2 years with new people, it's good to ask again. We don't have this, the other school has it. Anybody interested? This is a good thing. So I think that has to happen, that's right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike?
And not to beat a dead horse, but what I was gonna say is, I am a little concerned that there's far more than just the Junior National Honor Society. There's a difference in the clubs offered at the 2 middle schools that might wanna be an overarching thing that we look at. Because remember, if you're adding something, you're adding money too. So that could be an interesting discussion. Because if you're just adding a National Honor Society, for example, at TJ, I'm not saying, I'm all for a Junior National Honor Society at TJ. So don't get me wrong, but are we adding a new stipend, or, you know?
I don't know, I have to look at the contract and see what's what.
Because look at the amount of clubs, it's an incredible amount of clubs in middle school.
That would be an addition. That's unfair.
Cindy?
I'm asking this because I don't know, but if there's a club at Memorial that's not offered at TJ, is the person at TJ that's interested in doing the club able to join the one in Memorial, or that's not permitted?
We have to transport it.
Well, the kids would then have to be transported, so that'd be pretty expensive.
I'm just asking, because, you know, if you stipend both, you know, if there's the same exact club at each entire middle school. It was just a question, thank you.
Well, why don't instead of just, your committee just looking at the one club, why don't you make that like, not this meeting, or Monday, why don't you just make the extracurriculars at 2 middle schools, make that an item to be discussed? Talk to Ernie and Natalie and whoever else you have to talk to, and see if we can get them all on the same page.
Okay,
It may not be possible, but we should look into it, and that's your committee, so.
yes it is.
Okay. Any other board members on these items? Members of the audience? No? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Piella?
Yes.
Mrs. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. SE1, approve of tuition transportation. SE2, no items. SE3, other business. A motion for SE1 through SE3, please. So moved. Members of the board, any questions on SE1 through 3? Members of the audience, SE1 through 3, questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Piella?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. F1, approval of acceptance of gifts. F2, approval of discards. F3, approval of bills payable, payroll. F4, approval of bills payable. F5, approval of board secretary report. F6, approval of board treasurer's report. F7, approval of transfers. F8, approval of state submissions requirements. F9, approval of contracts, consortiums, cooperatives. That's it.
That's it.
Okay, F1 through F9, motion please.
So moved.
Questions, comments, board members? Jeff?
Yeah, F9. The communication services. Can you please describe the purpose of hiring Laura Bishop LLC, and just give me a brief overview, please, of the company's qualifications and what they've done in the past, et cetera?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a communications firm who's done, I don't actually know the exact number, but she's done many successful referendums in the past, primarily in New Jersey. And we're hiring this firm to help us get the word out even more, so that we can get a parent group, community group, have more of a social media footprint out there, newsletters, flyers, things like that.
Okay. I'm just curious, between the 9 of us, Flair, probably Flay is getting involved, the numerous PTOs, is it really necessary to drop 10 grand?
Well, that's a maximum, that's not what's anticipated to be spent. You can see it's a per hour charge. So whatever the work is, it will be per hour. We just didn't want to, have it go on and on, so we put a cap on it.
Right, I just was curious as what they're going to do for us that we couldn't do.
They'll have the time to get this stuff out on social media, to put the newsletters together. As you know, that's a lot of work. We've done that in my office for years, and this is an additional thing that we want to get out to the community for success.
And the administration feels strongly that this is necessary for us?
I do.
Okay, that's fine then, thank you.
Question.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
Mike.
Lisa, it was my understanding, but you tell me if I'm wrong, that this wasn't just for the referendum, this was getting a PR firm to help us.
It could be for the rest of the year.
To help us with the public relations that we keep talking about, and
Honestly, we
making
were
sure.
using this for the referendum first, just to see how successful it was before we made a commitment for further. But yes, the answer
That
is
we
it
wanted
can
a PR person for the board. I think we've discussed that.
Well, we've discussed that we don't have enough communications out there, so, yes.
Cindy?
I withdraw.
Mayor?
That was my question. Didn't we discuss this already?
Mhm.
Isn't this just approving something that we already had the discussion on?
I don't recall.
We did. We already discussed this.
Honestly, don't recall, maybe I was absent that day.
I don't know, but I know we did. And I know at that point, we all, whoever was not absent,
Okay.
all thought it was a good idea.
Yes, I
I
know.
think you should know, we looked at
That's-
5 different.
Yeah, I know I
firms.
did miss it. Again, I was also specifically asking about the company itself, the individuals.
Sure.
And this is in keeping with our wish to keep the community, not just for the referendum, but keep the community more informed, more involved with things that are going on in the schools and the things that the district and the administration are doing. So, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, we gave it a shot.
Right, I mean, I'm not a no vote for that.
No,
I
you just
asking-
wanted more information,
I
that's
just
fine.
wanted information.
Ron?
Just to give you a point of information, I Googled the company.
Okay, good.
They're unbelievable.
I should have.
They're unbelievable.
Thank you.
No, I'm being honest, I
No,
Googled them and their referrals and stuff was off the charts.
That's what you would do in the school games.
That's what I was doing.
Okay, any members of the audience? Emily?
I'm Emily from Garden. I was gonna ask the same question on behalf of the public as Jeff asked anyways, because I don't think the public would necessarily know the history of the discussion here, but I just wonder for longer term considerations about communications, that if you, for like a referendum communications plan, that's like a time limited specific project where the information, the messaging is already kind of, that's it. I mean, it's a defined universe of information and someone's job is to get that out there, but for broader communications goal with the community, I just wonder if you hire an outside per hour person, like, would that person then come to board meetings and be paid $100 an hour to sit at the board meetings because they're not internal staff, like they're not, to know how to communicate information about the district, you kind of have to be embedded in the district, and I just wonder how that would work with an outside hourly person as a strategy, and if the board might consider other possible ways for longer-term communication strategy with the community besides?
Well, I think we're gonna see how this works. And if it is successful, we may look into that. And you're right, there's a lot of questions. When would they come? What would they do? Who would they speak to? You know, would they come to these meetings? Would they go to PTA meetings? Would they just do, email blasts? Would they revamp our Facebook page? So this, I think, is just for this point, the referendum. And then we can discuss it certainly with the rest of the board and the administration, see if we want to take it further. But you're right, there's a lot of good questions. What would they do besides this? We don't know.
I'd love to see our fit.
So, is that it, Emily? Anyone else? A roll call, please.
Mr. Spindell,
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush,
Yes.
Mr. Klein,
Yes.
Mrs. Franco, Mrs. Piella,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Barbarulo,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. Okay, that's it, right?
That's it.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the floor to the public. If they have any questions, comments on any issue that they would like to tell us, just raise your hand and be recognized. Emily?
Okay, Emily Garza, so I have two questions. So one is a follow-up to the strategic planning session that happened last Monday. The facilitators of the helped the community narrow in on 4 buckets of themes, and it's my understanding that those 4 themes will be the breakout groups for the next strategic planning meeting on December 11th, and then people can self-select into which theme they want to write goals or suggest goals underneath. I just want to make sure for the entire board and administration that if I share that information with other people or try to encourage them, because like I know people who are interested in particular themes, and this is an opportunity for them to be involved in a meaningful way, that I'm giving them good information as far as they all know at this point in time.
Is it going to be self-selecting?
It is self-selected.
Yes.
So during the first 2, people received a color
Right.
dot on there. So that's not going to happen. This time there will be the 4 general goals, and people will select one to go to.
Okay, and those are the 4 goals that are stated, there's no
Yes,
additional.
yes, and also, by the way, on the district website, we will post a summary created by school boards of the consensus building that was done at the last one, and board members will get copies tomorrow in your update.
Okay, and then my second question is about the relationship between the district and the preschools. It's coming out because of the referendum, but thinking more globally about the interface between our district, especially now with full-day kindergarten and the pre-K programs, of which there are a plethora of choices in our region, which is wonderful for parents who can access that. I'm wondering if the community school collects information when children enroll for kindergarten of what pre-K, if they went to pre-K and what pre-K program they went to, and if we could use that information to have like an event where directors and staff from pre-K programs can meet leaders of the kindergarten program, meet you, Natalie, to learn about what Fairlawn full-day kindergarten curriculum is like and what would be good for pre-K programs to keep in mind to have their children prepared for Fairlawn schools specifically. If that's something we can look toward, begin working toward based on information we already have. And if we don't have that information, with kindergarten enrollment coming up in March and April, if that's a question we can make sure to add to begin building that database and try to work on those connections.
Well, I think it's a great thought. And this week I got a list of all of the preschools from our transportation department. And then we also found another list of preschools, a lot of duplicates in a community book that's a little bit dated. But the more we can do, the better, because I think if our preschools know what's happening in kindergarten, they can look. One of the interesting facets of preschools is that there are different types. Some are primarily having a little academic component. Some have no academic components. Some are more like daycare. So there is a mix based on what I've seen. But there's no reason we can't put those folks together.
Any other members of the audience? Questions, comments? Any issue? Any school-related issue?
We've heard enough.
None. Okay, board members?
I
I think Joan had her hand up first.
Cindy
Joan,
and I.
Mary, Mike, and Mark.
Me, who is it, Mark or me?
Joan,
No, no.
Joan Marymore.
Okay, Cindy and I went to the dialogue with the high school students tonight.
Sorry, I couldn't make it.
They're so energetic, they really are great. And they were talking about Spirit Week is next week, and they were talking about all the activities they have planned for
Bless you.
Spirit Week next week. They have the pep rally. They also have put out a survey, and they were questioning about Genesis, whether their GPA could be on, and it's already been addressed. There was one part that that has to do with you, Michael. It was that the part with the GPA, right? That they need to talk to the education about that? Was that Mr. Marcello?
Yeah, GPA, hosting it to Genesis.
Yes.
It's something that we've never done that before. It's something that goes back to our procedures we've been following for many years that have to do with not ranking and those things. But I said we would talk to the education.
My recollection is that we
it's not
looked at it many years ago, and the problem was that we thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, that somebody's got a 4.1 and somebody's got a 4.11. And it gets really competitive and really stressful. Am I remembering that correctly?
You probably are.
Yes. Well, you said that too. You said that, Mr. Marcello, you said that, you know, it
Not
could be.
rank, we're not talking about
Not rank. We're not talking about rank.
We're talking about kids being able to see on the Genesis portal their GPA card.
Although they
If
could
they wanna know it,
ascertain,
they
right.
just can go to the guidance counselors and get it. So we'll talk.
All right, we can discuss
Because
it.
I know that was tied in with the, when we went from class rank to deciles rather than
Right.
class rank. And that's the way we reported to colleges for probably 20 years now, so. I think it's something the education committee should weigh in on.
Okay.
And they did a survey, and the survey of the students, and 97% of them wanted their GPA. They wanted to know their GPA, and 3% said no.
How scientific was their survey?
I don't know, but
You
that was
went around
nice.
lunch and asked people?
They asked around the table.
You should say 90% of the students surveyed.
Survey, 97% of the students.
Yeah.
They asked
But did they break it up by class, by, you know, it wasn't scientific,
They
it
asked
was.
10 kids,
Yeah.
one in 10 kids
4 out of
said, "I
5
don't want
dentists,
it." It's like the 3 out of 4 dentists. I just have a question about,
But Mark was next. Oh, but you want to have a question about this particular?
no, I just have a question for this
Oh,
topic.
okay, go ahead.
How
Sorry.
come we don't have a student representative coming to meetings?
They were
this
here,
year?
there's 5 of them here. There were 5 of them here
They
tonight.
left.
They left.
I didn't, well, I'm facing this way, I didn't see anybody, I
Yes.
was just
Yeah,
wondering
yeah,
if,
there was
Turn around.
5 of them. Actually, last year we didn't have, nobody came last year.
Greg's here
but-
too, just so
But
you know.
at least, there was at least 5 of them here tonight.
okay, all
There was
right.
5
I
here
was wondering
tonight.
where you were, okay.
Yeah, that's the 5 kids.
They're in the student
Yeah, they're
government.
very active.
Student
so-
government.
And they're very active. So they have, and they're also having a speaker that, Mr. Infante said for, Spirit Week is very good. And he's coming and he's, eating all his travel and hotel costs, and he's gonna be speaking to the students.
Is he coming from California?
From California.
And he's paying, who's paying for it?
He's staying for himself.
Wow.
To come here, yes. And
Hope we at least buy him lunch.
he's doing cultural, he's talking about cultural difference. It's just, they said they had a Halloween, dance that they loved, they had a great time, and everybody, it's always the same question about athletics, whether they have to take the gym class, but there was a discussion about that, and Mr. Marcello said that, maybe you could talk to the gym teachers, you know, because we don't have any study halls, that really can't be done. So you talk to the gym teachers, you know, if they have something planned that day, be a little, you know, teach what you have to do about gym, but be a little bit easier so that it's not, they're not, you know, they're ready for what they have to do at the end of the day. And that was about it, right, Cindy, was there anything else?
No, you covered it
Yeah,
nicely.
everything was going good, the bathrooms were good. the-
Something on the same topic? Okay.
Okay,
I think that might be a policy committee topic,
what's that?
the gym,
Yeah, well,
changing
I
the
don't think
gym.
they're,
I don't think so.
Because
I
there's
think it's a
towns that
schedule.
have, there's towns around here that, if you're playing football, you're not taking gym.
Called option 2.
Because you're, right, it's like it's like an option, there's towns around here that have that, and something that's been discussed for
many years, he says.
many years. And, I think maybe, and the early morning gyms that we have, like the early morning gym for some of the science kids, if they're playing football, then why do they have to come early morning, cause they're taking a lot of science, like there's definitely schools around here, cause I know I've seen the policies, they've been passed around that table several times, so I think it's something that maybe, should be discussed maybe at the policy committee level? to get-
Absolutely.
Well, I think we're jumping the gun here. I think that maybe the administration should
Yes,
look
he's
into
going
it
to.
and say it's a scheduling issue or it's a policy issue, or we can do this or we can do that, rather than just jump into, let's put it on a policy committee. So maybe Ernie and Jim and whoever else they wanna get involved, say, look, we looked at this, and then come back with a recommendation, we should change it, we shouldn't change it, it's the policy, we can do it through scheduling, whatever. But let them, dive into it.
Or having the scheduling guru come, maybe it's something that should be
Yeah, you
discussed.
can throw that in the mix too, sure.
Jean, Mr. Marcel said he was going to speak to other principals and get their advice too, and then, I guess.
Great minds think alike.
So I was,
But that's what you wanted, Cindy, you were talking about?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
I wanted to say, I didn't think that it should go right to policy before it gets explored as far as scheduling issues.
All right, Mark?
Yes, I'm the liaison for two committees that I wanted to report on tonight. First one, the Fairlawn Community School. I'm happy to say that the enrollment is up, and they've introduced in Lindcrest, Westmoreland, and Warren Point the robotics course or robotics class, which they found very, very interesting and very successful. They're going to continue this hopefully in other schools in the spring. We're running, though, into the same problem that we've run into over the past few years, and that's the membership. We find that there are a lot of volunteers that sign up, and then their enthusiasm is diminished, and we're back to the 2 and 3 people on the committee. So they're going to be advertising this. If anybody knows anyone who would like to be a member of the Fairlawn Community School, please get in touch with Mike Shansky. The other one is the Fairlawn Drug Alliance Committee. They have in the past worked with the Board of Education in receiving grants and making those grants available to the district. And they have something on mental health at this point that they do not have the funding to be offered to the schools. So I am bringing this to the Board of Ed to think about whether or not you could find $4,500 in our budget to fund programs for TJ and Memorial School. It will address the mental health issues, and we know the importance of that by implementing the extra programs that we have now offered to our students. I'm going to turn this over to Natalie, and perhaps Natalie and Nick can discuss this, find out.
Well, Nick,
more.
I think, looks like he wants to say something.
Yeah,
Yep.
Mark, if you don't mind,
Sure.
as I was reviewing it very quickly before when you shared it with us, do we have to do all of those breakout sessions, or is it a la carte? Can we pick one of them?
You're going to ask them.
Okay.
I don't know at this time.
All the topics looked great, but I wanted to see, time allotments and things like that, our schedule, and look into it a little bit more now.
Right. If you would do that, they would be very, very happy.
Great, thank you.
As I said, the cost is $4,500 for that.
Maybe Natalie can find some federal funds. She's good at that. Mark,
Yeah.
no, you on this topic?
I have a question.
Okay.
Mark, did you say they're looking for that, do they fundraise for these programs that they run?
They have grants that they've already used our schools for.
No, that I understand, but I mean, how do they, I know like they did the hidden site
Right,
last week.
exactly.
How do they get their funds to do some of this other stuff? It's all grants?
It's all grants, I believe.
So they don't take donations or do any fundraising?
Not that I'm aware of. no.
Okay, just curious, thank you.
I have a question for Mark, unless, you have a question for Mark?
It's not a question from.
Okay, I have a question for Mark. As I'm sure everybody knows, probably by March, marijuana is gonna be legal in New Jersey. Have the Alliance talked about that at all, or they plan to?
Not so far. Those are the now taken on so far.
Okay, if they do, just let me know. I asked down to school boards and they were like, we don't know, But at that point, what's his name, hadn't won yet, but they were kinda a little bit confused.
There is one topic that addresses marijuana and effects and other drugs as well, and nicotine, and so it may get a little bit more in depth, but I'm not sure.
Okay, it's just, I don't know all the details, but from what I've read, it's pretty much a done deal.
I know it's going to Canada, but I.
No, New Jersey, Murphy said, I got a mandate, we're gonna do this.
Murphy's happy.
Yeah.
Still not gonna be legal for school age kids.
No, but it doesn't matter. Alcohol's not legal for school-age kids, and they don't have any problem getting it, so, you know, cigarettes aren't legal.
Yeah, they just raised it to 21.
Yeah, you can still get them.
That's
All right. Did you want, oh, Mary?
I don't know whether I fell asleep.
I have something.
Did we thank the Thomas Jefferson
No.
PTA for giving such a generous gift? No.
No.
It
You
slipped
did fall
by
asleep.
us.
You fell
I
asleep.
didn't fall asleep, we all fell asleep on that one. So thank them very much for, that's very generous and excellent.
Right.
I know, we used to say it, that none of your updates are great, but I just want to publicly congratulate our track teams this year. For the first time, they've won their leagues, they've had people in the state meet champion. They accomplished stuff this year they haven't done in years. So I think they need recognition for that. The soccer teams did well, and you know, the volleyball. And also, just so everybody know, on December 1st, I was asked by the guidance department, I will be speaking about trades to the students for about 45 minutes, from 1 to 1:45. So I was very honored that they asked me, and I was able to work my schedule, and I'm really excited and looking forward to it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to bring some tools and everything. I can bring drills and stuff, right?
Acetylene torch?
Yeah, I'll bring a couple torches.
Show 'em how to solder.
Mike?
I was gonna, you know, I was actually going to mention it at the athletic committee meeting, but since Jim's here and since it just came up, is it possible in the update to get more of a athletic report as far as the scores of games and stuff that happen in the week?
Ditto to Mike's comment, by the way. It's not really new business, but I know that I just want to keep it as part of our forefront in our conversation to talk about houses. And I'm really hoping that we get to hear some things on houses when the administration is ready. Because I'm just going to repeat, we agreed last time that we really think this seems like a good idea. And so if it's a good idea, I'd hate to see us wait too much longer to put it in to the middle schools when it could be appropriate for kids now rather than waiting for the construction to happen. Thank you.
Cindy?
I reached out to Dr. Palestis via email the other day regarding something that I saw from New Jersey school boards regarding stuff that's going on. They were encouraging school boards to pass a resolution regarding it. I just wanted to tell the board that Dr. Palestis was gonna research it and get back to us with wording.
Yeah, we did, and so I called New Jersey school boards, and Larry Feinsod is the executive director. He and I were both superintendents in Morris County at a time, but one of the real issues that School Boards Association is very, very concerned about is proposed federal legislation that would eliminate some of the deductions that we now have on our homes and when we would do our income taxes. So then Frank DeLucio from School Boards Association sent me today a sample resolution, which has blanks. So I'll put that in your updates for tomorrow, take a look at it. But it does, I think it's very, very important for this board and all boards to take a look at any legislation that could negatively impact New Jersey and negatively impact our schools as well. So thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome.
No legislation you're voting on tomorrow? Or am I wrong?
No, it's the federal.
You know, the federal, you know, the tax overhaul.
The House voted today.
The House passed it today.
I'm not sure when
The House passed it today.
The House
Okay.
passed
I was
it today.
passed it today, but they're not voting on it in the Senate yet. There's
Okay,
a lot
all
of
right.
people are not happy.
The Finance
Yeah, well,
Committee-
it's a stupid law.
It hasn't even been reported out of committee yet.
Oh, okay, all right,
I know one senator, Republican, is voting no already.
yeah, no, I know.
We need two more.
Okay, Mike?
Just going back to what Jeff was saying, they are, as far as I know, you guys are researching the whole house thing, and I was planning on having that on an education agenda when they were ready.
Thank you.
So it hasn't gone, it certainly has not gone by the wayside.
We have, we have our entire fifth grade teaching team going out to visit other middle schools in New Jersey that have 5, 6, 7, 8 structure, and as well have houses and teaming. And that should take place between now and the holiday break. We've identified schools to visit. We have a total of 18 teachers in the group, and then we'll break them down into smaller teams. Our next step is we're meeting central office, and the fifth grade teachers are meeting together to develop a list of common questions. In other words, if we're going to send out 6 teams, we don't want them asking different questions. I mean, they could ad-lib some, but we want to have a core of questions prepared so that we can compare information. And Natalie and I have reached out to other superintendents. So we're pretty much set, and that should take place, I think, between now and the holiday break.
We've scheduled 3 of them so far. 2, we've been back and forth with 2 districts, so we're still trying to settle on a date. Most of them are late November, early December, and 1 district has not returned our call. So we have 5 where we've been in touch that are definitive.
And the only thing I wanted to add to it is, and I apologize, I had parent-teacher conferences the night of the referendum meeting where it was discussed, but something I would like to see is that we include an idea, which was Ernie's when we changed it back to 5 to 8, it was in Ernie's ideas that we would look at a 5-6 house and a 7-8 house. And I know as a 6th grade teacher that would really, they kind of go together. I'm not saying same schedule, but keeping those 2 grades separate from 7 and 8, rather than just keeping 5th grade separate from 6, 7, 8. That 6th grade is much more like 5th grade than 7th grade. So that's just my feel.
I'm sure the teachers will come back with a lot of options.
Flexibility that way.
Mark?
Yes, I would be derelict if I didn't wish Pat and Bob Greco kudos on the recent audit that was conducted and their success in having it come through with flying colors. So congratulations.
Oh, stop, come on, she sits around.
I just wanted to say that Tim is gonna come and do the presentation on the audit for us in January.
Oh, so excited.
Yeah, that's always a great thing.
Big book.
Great way to start the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask him if he can come to our reorg meeting, which have slated for January 4th.
Everybody's good with that day, right? Okay. I just want to remind everybody, for anybody who went to Atlantic City to the workshop, put in your voucher, and please, under the accountability regs, you have to say, give a little blurb on the classes that you went to, as well as, the expenses, which are pretty much cut and dry. There's not a lot to it.
Yeah.
So the sooner you get it in, the sooner, we get it approved. So, just for everybody. All right, now, we have to go into closed session for HIBs. Are there any other closed session items?
Just HIB.
Okay, so we're gonna do, let's do December's meeting. Public meeting will be when?
December 14th.
December 14th. We're not doing any other meetings in December, are we?
No, we have December 4th, is a work session for referendum.
Right.
December 11th for strategic planning.
Okay.
Then
No
December
committee
14th.
meetings. The 4th, 11th, and the 14th.
I might want a
Do you
community
have-
relations committee meeting.
Oh, and community relations.
The last.
Are we doing anything with Dr. Librera in December? I don't
Not,
think,
not yet,
okay.
but he may very well want.
Okay,
meetings in December.
so, all right, but we should not, whatever we're gonna do in December, let's get it all out of the way by the 14th. I don't think anybody wants to come in the last 2 weeks.
Lisa, did you say about community relations?
I'd like to have one possibly the last week of November, the first week in December. But
I just want
I
to
don't remember who's on that committee right now.
The county meeting is the 29th.
Community relations is Elise,
I think you and Mark.
Elise, Mark, Joan, and Jeff.
Okay.
And December 13th, place,
Can you
special ed
guys do
committee
something
board meeting.
the week of the 27th?
Tomorrow with all
Week of the
the dates. They
27th.
lined out all the dates for the rest of the school year.
What
Oh,
did you
great.
say, December 13th, Nick?
Nick,
December
13th, you
13th,
said?
yeah.
Like,
Is
Sunday.
special ed?
Monday.
I'm okay with Monday.
Do
Oh, yeah.
all those
Wait, which
dates
one?
over again,
November
because,
27th.
you know, 'cause
Yeah.
I got lost
Good.
trying to
Yeah.
find.
November
What
27th.
time, what time?
I'm okay with that if they're okay with that.
What time is your
We're gonna try to
special
do
ed
it
committee?
27th?
Do you wanna do it earlier so you don't
November
have to stay
27th?
late?
December
Yeah.
13th, it'll be, at
Monday.
7:30.
After Thanksgiving.
7:30?
How, do you wanna come
Place
as early as we
meeting.
can so she doesn't have to stay
The
late?
place meeting will be at 6:30, and as soon as that's over,
Four?
we're shooting for an
I can do
hour
four.
meeting. We'll start the special ed.
I love that.
board meeting.
Beautiful, thank you.
It's at Edison?
We ain't
Over
pleased,
here?
Mike, so it's
Okay.
fine.
Lisa, you'll send us a reminder.
You're gonna go over them all, right?
I'm gonna
We're
go
gonna try
over
to
them
try
all.
to-
Yeah, I'll go over them all.
Gene?
Oh, there's a lot of dots on my
I
calendar.
just wanted to remind the athletic committee that we have a meeting on Monday.
I will not be there Monday.
The award ceremony is afterwards. However, I want to go to the TJ PTO meeting, so will
Oh,
you
I wanted
stay?
to go to this meeting.
Oh, you can do TJPPO meeting, everybody can go.
Okay.
No, it's the athletic awards.
Fourth, I think.
It's immediately following our meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, Brooke's gonna go over the meetings again.
Okay, and did you plan a community relations, or you
The
did?
27th at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
11,
December?
27,
No,
November.
next, after
November
Thanksgiving.
27th at 4 PM.
Yes,
No.
ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna read all the meetings,
Yeah, go slow.
okay? So, November 20th, we have athletic committee, 6 o'clock, Fairlawn High School, B103. All right? December 4th, we have our work session for the referendum. Fairlawn High School, D cafeteria, 7 o'clock. December 11th, strategic planning, Fairlawn High School, 7 o'clock.
Turn the heat on that night?
We'll see what we can do.
Okay, good.
December 13th, Special Education Committee at 7:30. It's gonna be here in Edison. There's a FLEAS meeting before that
Does anybody know
at
that's Hanukkah?
6:30.
December 13th is Hanukkah, does anybody realize that?
Is that the, what day?
December 13th is
Is that the
Hanukkah.
second night?
I'm sorry.
December 13th, what was the
Wait, what's
December meeting was?
No, this is on that.
What was the
On
fourth
what?
again?
That's the
On the
sec-
meeting, December 13th.
That's the second night.
All right, December 13th, what's the meeting?
It's the it's FLEAS and Special Ed Committee.
Okay.
December 13th.
My problem is that, and I'm on special education, my problem is that we have a meeting, it's in December, a week before the holiday, during Hanukkah, and we have a meeting on Monday, and we have a public meeting on Monday, and a public meeting on Thursday,
Uh-huh.
and I know I probably will choose not to go to the meeting on Wednesday because
Gotta go shopping for the
too many,
grandkids.
that week it's not a holiday.
Why would someone else public meeting?
So I would suggest trying to change the
Community relations.
place
this
What's the
Fe-
fourth again?
I don't, I'm not on community relations, so that doesn't affect me.
So we can Nick and we can reach out to the Special Ed Committee.
Actually, if you don't mind, I'd rather just discuss it now with Cindy, Joan, and Mike. You're the 3 committee members, correct?
That is correct.
So I mean, do you wanna move it to the following month and just,
Where's the reference?
we could just push all the meetings back 1 month if you want?
That's fine.
If that's what you, if that's
If
what
we, because we have Monday night and Thursday night, public meetings, so if it's not too much of a hardship, could we move it to January?
Yeah, I'll speak with Mel and we'll push all of them. We may still hold just a police meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely.
But we'll push the
Yeah.
board meeting back to January and we'll just do all the board meetings with 3 therapy or whatever that we have to get in.
It's all right.
In the second half of the school year.
All right, so the special
teacher
education
So in
meeting is
January,
over.
I'd rather us
You're
figure
gonna-
it out while we're all here.
You're gonna reorganize.
As long as it's okay with
So in special
In
ed,
January, you're gonna reorganize your committee.
right, so you may not be
Yeah,
here,
that's
but
right.
I don't,
we're
you
gonna
know.
have a reorg
So
of
the
committees.
13th is off
Right.
for the special ed committee.
That's all.
Blaze is still gonna meet,
One
and
special
in
ed
January,
committee-
the new special ed committee
Regular
Right.
board meeting.
can figure it out.
And the TJ PTO meeting is the 20th?
Yes,
Monday.
it's this Monday.
And is the 14th the
Got it.
last meeting of the month?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And on the 14th, what the dialogue will be at 5:30.
Ooh, we get
so make sure you put that in
Chicken
there.
that night.
December 14th,
It's student dialogue, yes,
Chicken soon?
at what time?
5:30.
When is the when is the county meeting?
Is it the
Oh,
29th?
yeah, I wanna go to that, bro.
November
Yes.
29th.
You got the email.
November,
I did.
correct?
Okay.
Can't go.
Yes, I
What's
have it.
November
I have it down.
Put it in my calendar already.
Yeah, I had it.
Maggiano's, the county meeting.
No, it's at the Holiday Inn. This
Oh, the
is
Holiday Inn this time, yeah,
I
right.
didn't
It's Attleboro?
see that.
Yeah.
Did it come?
No, it's usually
It's the Holiday Inn on 17. We're Bananas.
Oh, by Bananas.
that's for kites.
Oh, down, oh, okay, that's,
17.
we go to the comedy club after.
God bless you.
Bananas,
Oh, I think it's an answer.
yeah. More green, that's what I thought I heard. Okay, all right, so we good with the meetings?
I just asked my question, why are we having the regular board meeting on the 14th, not the 21st, just curiosity?
It's too close to Christmas.
The day before school's
It's too close to Christmas.
and it's usually,
We always do
I
that.
thought it's always.
December 21st, it's too close to Christmas.
It's the winter
Gotta give
solstice.
people a chance.
So
Oh,
we
that's
have-
nice.
That's
To
right.
get there.
I'm just saying, I might not be here,
Egg down and
because
see if it
I have
balances,
a
right?
previous engagement.
Okay, all right, you got the meetings now?
All right.
All right,
Good job.
now, wait, hold on. We're gonna go into closed session, discuss HIV, come back out in open session. At that point, I would like to discuss with the board, officers for next year. So, we're gonna do the HIV report. Corey doesn't have to stay. We'll do the HIV report, back into open session. The, administration can leave, vote, and administration can leave, and we can discuss, officers for next year.
So before everybody disperses for a recess, it's Joan's birthday today, and she's at a board meeting.
Well,
So, there
everybody
is
at
a
least did the
birthday.
same thing.
That seems to be the theme.
There is a birthday cake that you can have along with.
All right, so the motion to recess into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.